everyone, this is JVL here with my best friend, Sarah Longwell, publisher of the Bulwark. Sarah, happy Thursday.
Yeah, it's
no
the 3rd
Rebecca
of
for
July.
you people. No Rebecca for you people
You're
today.
So stingy with Rebecca.
Because if it came out on days that weren't Friday, then it wouldn't be special. We're going to have a very personal show in the back half. A lot of talk about feelings, a lot of talk about you guys and how much we love you guys. In the middle of the show, we're going to talk about the New York Times because I am ready to go on a heater about the New York Times, the nation's paper of record. But first, Sarah, you would like to talk about some tacos? Or is it Rocco's?
It's Rocco's.
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 Republicans always chicken out.
It's almost like cowardice is a defining feature.
Almost like that.
Actually, it's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing.
Gallows humor.
Gallows humor. So I don't know if you, like me, were following the House last night. It was the members of Congress were going home, then they were being called back. They're, putting the arm twisties on the holdouts, the people who don't like this bill because of how much it adds to the national debt, which is a lot. And, if one cares about such a thing, one could go back and pull clip after clip after clip after clip of Republicans talking about the existential crisis of our national debt.
Oh.
And here's the thing about this bill. And people, there's sort of a shorthand way of talking about it, which is that, Trump's given his rich friends tax cuts. He's extending the tax cuts on the backs of sort of Medicaid cuts. That is true, but the bigger story is a lot of other stuff. And one of them is that to maintain the tax cuts, which is sort of the fetish of Republicans. And I guess I want to be clear that I like tax cuts. I like low taxes. I do think that they have good effects on businesses. Here's the thing, though. The point of Republicans, as I saw it in my younger days, was to be, because this is how they sold themselves. It's what they told me they were. It's that they were the grown-ups in the room. The ones who looked around and said, you know what? We, with a debt load of over $30 trillion, we simply can't afford to cut taxes this deep. And this is one of those things where there are times to cut taxes and juice the economy with it. There are other times where the amount that we are paying in interest on our national debt is actually crushing us for the future, for innovation, and just like straight up how much money we have to pay to service the interest on the debt. And so this is something Republicans have paid a great deal of lip service to. And
Except
I heard that in my
the
younger
White
days.
House.
That's right. And so now it's one thing where you're like,
Yeah.
well, so I would say I come of age. W talks about, they spend money like drunken sailors. Actually, that was kind of McCain and W and those in their exchanges in their primary debates. But, there was a lot of talk about fiscal responsibility. You run a country like you run your household. You can't run it with this kind of debt. That's not what people do. But, then there was the war on terror, and that was expensive. But W inherited from Bill Clinton a surplus. Yeah. Good. Because I remember those debates. I remember the SNL skit. The big debate that they had between the Republicans and the Democrats was, what are we going to do with this surplus?
All this money.
It's going to be, because the lockbox was one of the sort of running gags, because Gore has been like, we're going to put it in a lockbox. Okay, great. And then but he spends a lot of money on this war on terror, and we're back in debt territory. And then we get Obama. And bottom falls out, the economy. And for all the talk that Republicans did running against Obama and John McCain, what does Obama do? He kind of ran up the debt too. But he did, but the economy that Trump inherited was okay. Was good. It was a good
Yes.
economy.
Yes.
And
So he increased the debt spending.
then Trump, in his first term, runs the economy super hot, does the tax cuts, and we find ourselves with a debt load going into COVID and 1 million deaths that is extraordinary. But I remember when it was Obama, I ran a project called Defeat the Debt. Okay? Because I was just a good fiscal conservative who likes, that thinks the debt and deficit was bad. Do you know how big, when I ran that campaign, how big the debt was?
I don't.
It was 12 trillion.
Ooh.
So
seems like a
this
lot.
is like 2013, maybe. So this is a mere 12 years ago. Let's look at the debt clock. What is the debt right now? This is only going to take 2 seconds. Debt clock. USA. 37 trillion.
More than 12.
It's more. I can't say that I'm
You
great
don't
at
like
math.
doing math,
I
but
don't like doing math. I went to Kenyon College specifically because it had no math requirement. But I can still tell you that 37 trillion, it's a lot of money. And this new bill that Republicans are passing, it doesn't even take a minute to grapple with the level of debt that it adds, which would, over 10 years, so like in another 10 years, get us to about 60 trillion.
ooh. Seems like more than 32.
37.
37, sorry. Yeah.
And so then you brings us to now. So one of the things that Republicans had was they have been running for so long. Like, I don't know if you remember what the Tea Party was about. The Tea
I
Party
do.
was about, supposedly, Obama running up the debt. It was about being fiscally responsible.
Yeah. Mortgage bailouts, right? That's
And we were swept into a bunch of legislators were swept into office saying that they were going to be tough on fiscal discipline. They were going to drive down the debt. Where are we now?
I also remember this thing that Republicans did about character being destiny.
Sure.
And how important morality was. And then also about the sanctity of life. Those things are... This is a very... I'm not asking this to be a smartass. Is there anything that you think they did mean except for the racism? I think the racism was sincere. Like I think the Obama wasn't born here stuff, I think they actually meant that. But everything else, I kind of don't like. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Stu Stevens is pretty close with the "it was all a lie" thing. And,
Yeah.
again, not for everybody, not for like my fellow travelers and your fellow travelers, but it's hard to find something that like no, they really do believe that. They're holding tight to that.
I mean, I think that they are, I don't know if I would say sincere, because sincere is like a nice word. I do think they are committed to the idea that government is bad. Although, well...
I mean,
but
they're trying to establish a national...
I know, I was
police
going to
force
say,
in
like, it
ICE.
depends which part of the government, right? I mean, this
Part of the
idea
government
of
with guns that can kill citizens, that part's good.
3.6 trillion. No, sorry, I apologize. 3.6 billion was ICE's previous budget allocation.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's going to be now?
60?
45 billion.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a big jump. It's a big jump. A lot of private prisons with that. Anyway, you're right. I mean, this is, for me, the last 10 years is one of the most, we've talked about this before, but watching people have meant nothing by what they said is actually a jarring experience. And so, and especially, I guess if you come up in conservatism Inc., right, and you go to all the conferences and you listen to all the talks and you do all the clapping, it is wild. Like, even now, I'm watching sort of like the Erick Ericksons, like the pundits who have made their careers.
What have they done on this? How have they squared this?
I wasn't planning on doing this, and I don't know if I can find it.
Have you been looking at anti-antis?
Well, I've been watching Fox News, which is agitating so hard for this bill. And this is where, the idea that they don't mean it, like Democrats should never let Republicans outflank them on fiscal discipline, ever. And they let them get away with it often because Democrats want to spend money. And so they don't want to spend a lot of time shouting about,
Do
how we
care about fiscal discipline? I get the sense that this is one of those things, like a voter, if you ask them, no voter is going to say, the debt doesn't matter. Like, I'm a Paul Krugmanite. I've, read why sovereign debt is okay to run up, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's going to say, oh, of course, yes, we shouldn't have lots of debt. But do voters really care about that? And this is why I think everybody can get away with this, because no voter's ever going to actually vote on debt and deficit. Debt and deficit is going to be cover for something else, right? I want to vote for the black guy, so I'll say it's debt and deficit.
You mean you don't want to vote for the black guy?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's funny. I remember pretty vividly the focus group that I did where I asked a woman who said that she cared about the debt. Like she said, this was during the Trump years, said the debt was an important issue to her. And I said, how do you think Trump's doing on the debt? And at that point, I think he'd already added a few trillion to it. And she said, I think he's really chipping away at it. And so the problem with the debt has always been that it contains no personal consequences for voters, right? Spending free money. Like these are the hard, these are the hard choices, right? Is that like, you'd have to exact political pain to do a responsible thing, and no one's going to do that.
It's going to mostly benefit people who aren't around yet.
That's right.
That is not the American way.
Yeah,
there's a reason
that climate change and the debt are sort of the two things that people really, you can tell them it's existential, and they'll be like, I'll let my grandkids deal with that. I do want to read you one quote one tweet that I saw this morning from Erick Erickson. It's like not quite on topic, but this is how the anti-antis are handling a bill, which is that they're not talking about the bill, number one. Number two, let me just read this. It's a little long. This is from Erick Erickson. There is also one overwhelming, compelling reason to support Mr. Trump, and it affected my thinking in 2024 more than anything else. Ironically, I talked about it and wrote about it the least, in large part because it is not a substantive reason to support Mr. Trump, but it is my personal reason to support him over Kamala Harris. Can't wait for this next part. Next year will be the 250th birthday of the United States of America. Were Ms. Harris the president next year and progressives in charge, we would be forced to hear sob stories of the founding white slave owners while being forced to celebrate the transgendered amputee midget, people of color whose sacrifices made victory possible. Instead of praise for Jefferson, Washington, Madison, Hamilton, Adams, and Franklin, we'd all have to sit through insufferable lectures about the non-Jewish people of color and lesbians who built this country and how white people ruined it all. Every one of you knows this is true. And I thought, what a startling admission to say the reason that I, Erick Erickson, voted for this lawless, anti-free speech, anti-every single value I have espoused in my career, this debt-busting, anti-Christian, anti-decent person, everything. I voted for him over Harris because when we're talking about our country, they might have celebrated its diversity as a country, and that is just too insufferable for me to bear.
There's a weird thing, and this is pervasive on the right. And it is this sense that seeing some rando on Twitter say something stupid about how great socialism is, or talking about how trans people should be able to use whatever baths, that is intolerable. And it means that tolerating things like a national secret police force and a lawless president taking billions of dollars from crypto fraud, like it's worth accepting those things in the real world so that I don't have to see or hear these other people who I just don't like. And this is like the Barry Weiss thing, right? Like, I hated all the people in my New York Times Slack channel. And so I'm going to run cover for authoritarianism.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess.
I mean, that's Elon.
I'm sorry that
right?
you're around people you don't like. That's
like
life.
Elon's like, my trans kid didn't like me. And so I'm now radicalized and red-pilled and going to spend all my money supporting the psychopath who then turned on me,
yes,
and on whom I've turned, and now I'm going to spend my money to unseat every Republican voting for. I mean, like,
it's weird. It's so snowflakey.
Well, and also, can I just listen, Eric? I believe this firmly, that if Kamala Harris was the president and we were celebrating America's 250th anniversary, I'm pretty sure she would give a shout out to the founding fathers. Like, I'm pretty sure we'd wave the American flag and say that the founding principles that America was, given, bequeathed to us by the people who did it, pretty sure she'd say some nice things about them. Would we talk about the fact that maybe we're not perfect yet? That we still have ways to go to be more perfect? We might do that. That's probably okay. It's in the actual, declaration. In order to form a more perfect union, establish these. Feels like that's okay. Feels like that's actually pretty American. What America do these people think we're in?
Look, I am sure that what Eric described there would be true of some seminar class being taught at some super
Berkeley or Brown,
college, right?
Yeah, sure.
Meade College or something, right? Or the University of the Redlands or something. But the reality of the Democratic Party as it exists on the national level, like, that's just an insane thing to say. Like, that's not where Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or any of the Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, that is not anything to do with actual Democratic politicians at the national. I mean, even Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist, doesn't talk like that. It's weird.
It is, and it is not reality. Okay, so last night I went to a women's soccer game. So the women's national team, USA, our women's soccer team, played at Audi Field, which was really fun because, I go to Audi Field. I have Spirit tickets, so I go see.
Or did they play the Spirit?
No, they played Canada.
Oh.
And it was really fun because they sang the national anthem and then they sang the Canadian national anthem. There was a lot of Americans there clapping for the Canadians. There was a very palpable, like, yo, we're sorry, man. We're sorry. Kind of thing. Okay, so, like, that's your crowd. Your crowd is the kind of, and, like, there's just lesbians everywhere. Just as far as the eye can see. There's also...
Were the Indigo Girls there? Did the Indigo Girls do the national anthem?
They weren't, but they...
Tegan and Sarah?
No, I think it was like a brass band or something that was doing it. But anyway, it was cool. And there was also a million dads with their little girls in their soccer jerseys and tons of families, whatever. And it was packed. It was like a sold out. I couldn't believe how much traffic there was.
That's great.
It was great. It was great. And so USA wins 3-0. Girls put on a real show. It was awesome. Love seeing the national ladies. It was just sort of like a friendly, kind of match. Anyway, super fun. At the end, there was like a fireworks light show, and they were putting stuff on and guess what it was like? So all these queer people and all these soccer fans in this lib city of Washington, D.C., it's a bunch of pictures of the American flag. They're playing a mix-up of Chapel Roan and what I think is the Zac Brown Band, and that song I like that, like, play a little bit of chicken fried, whatever. Country music is my point.
You're gonna have to sing some more.
No,
it's at the tip of my tongue. Go ahead, just give me another couple bars.
Anyway, and you know what? There was a couple pride flags they gave shots of too. Yeah. Yep.
Yikes.
But mostly it was fireworks that were red, white, and blue. There were pictures of the little girls wrapped in the flags. There was chants of USA. Like, it is an exact picture. Yes. Is it a little more liberal? Were there a couple of rainbow flags and a nod to the audience that has carried women's soccer through the first phase before it got much more mainstream and popular? Sure. Is it also just like rife with Americana? And it was awesome. And I just think that people like Erick Erickson, they have made something up in their head about who like lefties are because they saw someone with blue hair one time when they visited Seattle, and like they can't get over it. And they use that as an excuse to do the most anti-American thing possible. And it's I don't know, it's very gross to me. Very gross.
All right. I want to absolutely trash the New York Times.
I'll sit back.
But
let you rip. What'd they do now, JVL? What'd they do now?
Do that just for the Bulwark Plus members. So, hey, this is a great time, by the way. If you're not on board yet, you should come ride with us because we need a better media.